Morning. Thank you for joining me for our last day of devotionals this week. We are going to continue reading from the Gospel of John from the daily lectionary. Today's reading is from chapter 5, and I'm going to start in verse 2. In Jerusalem, by the sheep gate, there is a pool, called in Hebrew Bethsaida, that has 5 porticos. In these lay many invalids, blind, lame, and paralyzed. One man who was there had been ill for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there, and knew that he had been there a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be made well?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up, and while I am making my way, someone else steps down ahead of me." Jesus said to him, "Stand up, take your mat, and walk." At once the man was made well, and he took up his mat and began to walk. This is the story that inspires the spiritual "God's Gonna Trouble the Water." And I'll tell you that the first time I heard that song, I didn't know this story. And so I thought it was strange that God was going to cause trouble. Why is God troubling the waters? Why is that a good thing? And it's easy to see why in this story, because the troubling of the waters was what indicated that there were angels moving around there, and it's time to go get in the water. It's time to go get healed because something miraculous is happening. And I think that's a really good metaphor to take and expand upon, because I think the choice of the word trouble by that spiritual is intended, right? It's to say that God's going to stir things up. It's to say that things are going to get a little strange, and we have to be ready. Now, the origins of that song are one thing, but its effect on our life today is something else as well, and both are worth thinking about and studying. But I think its effect on us today is to say that we have to be ready for the trouble, for the movement of God, because that's also where the healing takes place. And so, yes, it feels like God is troubling some things right now. Not only in terms of the coronavirus and being stuck in quarantine, but in terms of bringing up all of these issues of social justice that we're seeing, all of these issues of racial reconciliation, that for especially white people like myself might seem like, oh, why do we have to deal with that? We're comfortable in our whiteness. We don't want to have to confront difference in skin color. We don't want to have to confront racism because it's so easy for us as white people to ignore it. But God's going to trouble the water. And we ought not to avoid that trouble, but we ought to go down into it, because that is where healing takes place. I hope that you find Christ enabling you to go into the waters that are being troubled and to find healing. Would you join me in prayer? God, give us the courage to follow the way of your cross, and to trust that though it confounds the logic of the world, your way interrupts the patterns of sin and death, both now and forever. Amen. Have a blessed day.